Hi, I'm Paul Maddox and welcome to this Producertech tutorial. Today I'm going to be walking you through making a old school house beat using Ableton's push controller. So first off, we're starting with a completely empty project, and on this I'm going to try and do as much of the stuff using push as possible. There's still one or two things where you need to refer to the screen, so I will do when I need to, but I'll try and stick to using the controller to do as many of the processes as I possibly can. So first off, let's start by adding a drum rack to sequence some 909 drums with. On the push, as you can see, we just have an audio track at the moment. So we need to add a MIDI track, which we can put our drum rack on, and then we can start programming the drums. So we press add track on push here. So we browse through and we'll pick a kit from the Ableton factory library, 909 kit. So we scroll down to drum rack, core library, which we're already on, and then to kit 909, and then press the green button here to load. And that should give us a nice 909 drum kit mapped across this 4x4 grid of pads here. Okay, so that's our basic drum kit. Next thing is to press the browse button here to close the browser. This then puts us into Push's drum sequencer mode. So this grid of 16 pads here, MPC style, hit the pads to play the sounds, like so. This 8x4 grid of pads at the top here is the sequencer itself, the top 4 rows, with each pad representing one step of the sequence. And this 4x4 section at the bottom right of the push controls loop length and also changes which part of the sequence you're looking at when the sequence is more than 32 steps long. So let's start off by programming a very simple 4/4 kick pattern. If we tap on the pad here, that gives us our kick. And if we start tapping on some steps on the sequencer, we can draw in a pattern like this. Tempo's a little bit low, down at 90 odd for some reason, so let's crank that up to somewhere in the 120 region. As you can hear, this is a 2-bar pattern at the moment, and we've only got kicks in the first bar. So to get started, let's just trim that down to a 1-bar long pattern. So using this section down here, we just press the first button twice. Need to do it quite quickly, and that will change the loop length from 2 bars down to 1 bar. Now let's go ahead and program the basic pattern in there, just a simple claps and hats house drum pattern. That kind of big closed hat will probably be good for the offbeat, so you select the sound just by tapping the pad, and then we can go in and program a pattern which will, for the purpose of this, do just a simple offbeat for now. Yeah, that sounds nice. So now let's get a clap and just put that on every second beat. That sounds good, but now let's get another closed hat in there to give the pattern a little bit of swing. So if we find this, the smaller closed hat here. And okay, let's try programming these ones in by recording in real time rather than step sequencing. So very simply, you set the loop playing and hit the notes, and as long as record is enabled, that'll just record the pattern into your groove. So that should now have added our extra hi-hat part in that we need. So that's sounding pretty nice. The unquantized playing in there gives it a nice bit of swing. But let's say we want to add a second bar in with a bit of a variation in the hi-hat pattern that changes in that second bar relative to what we've already got in the first bar. You can press the double button here, which duplicates the bar that we've got and makes a second bar with exactly the same pattern in it, which we can then edit. So let's say we want to put an extra little hi-hat hit in on the second bar about there. That's in about the right place, but it's quantized dead on the 16th, so it doesn't fit with the swing that we've already got from the other notes. So to fix that, we could either quantize it, we could move the note manually around on the screen like this, or alternatively, there's a tool you can use to do this with push. If you hold down on a step, so this is the one that we just added here, so hold down, you'll see that a few options pop up. We've got nudge, length, fine, and velocity. Velocity you can use to adjust the velocity of the note as you would expect, which is quite useful, and nudge allows you to move the note off grid. So if we give it a negative value, you can see that will pull it back so the note hits early before the grid line, or if we push it to a positive value, it makes the note late and play after the grid line. A little bit late is what we want on this, so let's try that. Okay, that sounds good. I don't think we need to worry about quantize at the moment. I think those live notes and the bit of nudge on that other one have given it enough swing. But the groove is sounding pretty standard at the moment. It hasn't got much character. So let's now drill in and refine it a little bit and add a bit more to it. So first job, I think the clap at the moment just isn't sounding quite right. It's not sounding quite the way I want it to. I think it's the length of the reverb on the clap sample itself that's causing the problem. I think we need to trim that down and make that a little bit shorter. So let's go in and using push to do the editing, we'll change the sample length on the clap to trim the reverb tail off a bit. So up here on the push display, this area selects which device is currently being edited. I'll switch back to device view on the screen so you can see what's going on in the software as well as on push. This here kit Core 909 is currently selected, which is the whole drum kit in its entirety. But if we tap on a cell, we have now selected the clap, and as you can see, that's now highlighted up here, and the edit controls are now controlling the clap itself rather than the whole kit. So the default mapping for the knobs is that they're controlling the macro controls of the drum rack, which is what you'd expect because they're the things that you normally need to tweak quickly. But you can actually go in and edit a little bit more deeply by pressing this little arrow button here. That kind of goes in one level of depth. So if we press it twice, we are now editing the actual clap itself. You can see that the controls that we've been given here are sample start, sample length, attack, release, transpose, and volume. Sample start is what we were looking for anyway, so we can wind back on that a bit. And as you can see on screen, that is changing the sample endpoint. So you can hear that. That's a much tighter sound with less reverb than what we had before, which is what we were aiming for. Which I think will suit this kind of groove better than what we had before. Then we press device again to go back to the main view, and let's have a listen to what those changes sound like in context. Yeah, that sounds pretty nice, but I think we could do with a bit more variation in the claps as well. So let's put another little note in towards the end of the bar there. I'll just change the view on screen so you can see what's happening. And let's apply a little bit of nudge to that extra clap note as well, so 20-30%, whatever it was we had on the other ones. Extra hit sounds nice, but it's a bit loud, so let's hold the pad and wind the velocity back a little bit. Yeah, that flows better. It's also a good example here of how the display on the push sequencer is very helpful. You can see that this quieter note here is a lighter shade of blue, whereas these higher velocity ones over here are a bit of a darker shade. So it's really easy to see at a glance what's going on in your sequence.